Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the natal chart of a young girl named Luna Fenner. And some of you may have heard of her. She's been prominent in the news as of late, and she's somebody that was born with rather unusual birthmarks on her face. I don't know if they were in any other on any other part of her body, but it's something she was born with called, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, congenital mel- melano melanocytic nevus, and this is a mole birthmark found in infants at the time of the birth. And according to Wikipedia.org, this occurs in the head, neck area, like 15% of the time. And my understanding is one of them has been removed on her, and I believe that was on the forehead. It was going to take a lot more surgeries apparently in the United States for her to have these markings removed, but she has gone to Russia, and they might be able to facilitate this and get this done in less surgeries, as far as my understanding goes. Now, I got the thing is, this could also, what she currently has can increase the propensity for melanoma, skin cancer. And I'm going to be talking about some transits and natal placements in her chart that may be tied into this, and maybe what the future may be lying for her to, maybe ahead for her to some degree regarding this situation. And anyway, well, first thing I want to talk about is I got actually the time of birth from her mother. Mother was nice enough to respond to my inquiry for her birth time, and I've noticed a number of things in her chart which can be indicative of this kind of, I don't know if you call it a disease or what the actual name of this is. I don't know if it's a debilitation or you refer to it as a disease, but anyway. Now I'm going to switch over to, if you just hold on a minute, people, just going to switch over to her chart. And I'm going to look at it now. And the thing about when I'm looking at her chart, okay, the first thing, well, what I want to actually, sorry, what I want to talk about, got to adjust this a second. Before I get into the health-related issues, I want to give a little bit of a breakdown of her three major proponents in her chart, which is the sun, moon, and the sun. I want to talk a little bit about more than just the health-related issues, because I do want to talk about her natal chart in general. Now, she has a Pisces sun, Aries moon, and Libra ascendant. Now, as many of you may know, the way, when you look at a sun, moon, and ascendant in one's natal chart, it could be broken down very systematically, starting with the energy of the sun, then being injected into the moon, then being flavored by the ascendant. Now, this could manifest in a multitude of ways for her. Starting as far as her sun goes, that could be connected with the basic want of dreams and fantasies, perhaps manifesting into reality. The fact that she has an Aries moon, these dreams may be done as she gets older, may be pursued very aggressively and assertively with very little hesitation or procrastination, with much initiative and enterprise. And with Libra rising, it could be something Libra related, something connected with the law, art, mediation, arbitration, or could even be a Libra-like sport. Keep in mind that the Aries moon could be about emotional need for something with sports or some kind of competition. The fact that Libra, I would say, well, sports anyway, the fact that Libra is rising, this might be done with a sport connected with balance, such as gymnastics or tennis. Now, another thing too is, and again, it can manifest in a number of ways. It could also be having the Aries moon and Libra rising, taking it could be aggressive action in situations using conciliation, peaceful tactics. It could be about fighting for peace, and It's interesting because John Lennon, as many of you may know, had a Libra sun and Aries ascendant, and he was like some kind of activist. He was somebody that would actually, he'd be for, I mean, his basic want was peace, given he had a Libra sun. But what he did was he fought for that, having the Aries ascendant. He went about matters with peace in a very aggressive and assertive and fiery manner. So it's just interesting. Um, anyway, and another thing too. I mean, some of the things when I want to talk about her chart. Also, she has a preponderance of planets on the bottom half of her chart, which indicates being a little bit more introverted and introspective as opposed to extroverted and gregarious. She's likely going to be maybe a little more subjective than objective, and a little bit more pessimistic than optimistic. Now, it's interesting that she has a Libra Sun and Pisces Sun. They're actually inconjunct by aspect, and when you have an inconjunct inconjuncts in astrology can be about health-related matters, but can be about adjustments as well. Her Libra energy that she will be projecting the ascendant is about what we project outwardly, our outer demeanor, our astrological masculine facade, where you're talking about the Pisces sun. The sun is our basic character. The sun in Pisces can be basically, as far as the character goes, somewhat timid, passive, more about isolation, seclusion, solitude. But when you have a Libra ascendant, that's going to camouflage a lot of that, and she's going to show outwardly somebody that's a lot more sociable, a little bit more gregarious, more about intellectual sociability, bouncing ideas off others, having very good speaking abilities, and somebody that may be very fond of like social gatherings and ingratiating herself with others. So it's really very interesting, and there's something uh, there's something I want to talk about too in her chart, is that I noticed that looking at some placements in her chart and going to talking about how it can be related to her the issue she has with her skin, and the birthmarks, the black marks she has on her skin. And interestingly, that I first of all, actually, transit Jupiter is currently in Capricorn, as many of you may know, and Jupiter can be associated with Cancer, and Capricorn is the skin. So even collectively, there could be a greater propensity for others having this. But the fact is, this transit is closing in on her natal Pluto, and that could manifest in the Cancer being tied in to something with something dark, which is Pluto. Capricorn is the skin. But at the same time, this could be a very fortuitous transit, because transit Jupiter hitting Pluto could also be very fortuitous for surgery on the skin, because Capricorn can be associated with the skin. Another thing I noticed in her chart, she does have Mars and Taurus conjunct her 8th house cusp, and the 8th house cusp is not just about death, it can be associated with birth as well. And Mars is about surgery. And remember, Taurus can be very persistent energy. It can be about something with the neck as well. The fact it's conjunct her 8th house cusp, that's the indicator of surgery related to something that took place at birth, and it can be ones that are very persistent and constant, given that it's Taurus. I don't know if she had any marks on her neck, but it wouldn't surprise me if she did, given that Mars is in the zodiac sign Taurus. And the fact is, there was also talk of, again, going back to the bullying with her. She had in her natal chart, she has Pluto in the 4th house. Pluto can be associated with bullying. The 4th house is emotional security, so that's the area in life this could strongly impact. 4th house is also her home life. Another thing I noticed too, as far as bullying goes, the zodiac sign Leo is on the cusp of her 11th house. Leo can be associated with bullying. The 11th house can be associated with social media, the internet, and social networking, things that are online. And so it's not surprising that this is actually transpiring with her. What I want to say too, another thing I felt was very interesting, her chart, which could be corresponding with her situation, having those birthmarks, is that she has the South Node conjunct her Pluto. And some of you may know the South Node is about what we're going away from. It can be, in this case, it can be its removal. The South and Pluto can be about things, something dark, again, Capricorn, associated with the skin. It's not surprising that this is about the removal. This may be manifesting, I believe, in the removal of, in her case, dark skin. Now, another thing I noticed in her, something that struck me too, which could be tied into having, you know, the birthmark, these birthmarks, is that she has her, interesting enough, her sun in Pisces makes a very tight conjunction to Neptune. The sun is also at 17 degrees. It's a critical degree. This energy, the Sun-Neptune conjunction, makes an inconjunct to her ascendant. Inconjuncts in astrology can be about adjustments, but also they can manifest in health-related issues. The sun in Pisces can be, I mean, Neptune, first Neptune can be about diseases. And the sun can be, Pisces can be about ones that can't be eradicated. She does have a little higher risk for getting cancer, honestly, because of this. Not to be overly negative or pessimistic, just looking at this chart objectively. And honestly, the sun can be associated with the physical body. Yes, the ascendant is what dominates the appearance, but and the physical body. But the sun can play a role in things that are physical in nature as well. Another way of looking at this is that the Neptune conjunct the sun by itself can be about weakness in the physical vitality and energy. And being in Pisces, it can sometimes be confounding, and it might be such in some cases where the reasoning behind lethargy or any weakness might be somewhat nebulous and unclear. So those are some ways this could manifest and pan out. And she also has Pisces on the 6th house cusp. Pisces on the 6th house cusp by itself can manifest in debilitations associated with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic system. There can be a greater, she needs to be careful when she's older, because Pisces is also associated, of course, with drugs, alcohol, chemicals, and those are some things that she can be, wary of as far as physical, as far as health-related issues. But having a Libra ascendant at the same time, she could also be, Libra can be associated as far as physical debilities may go. They can be associated with diabetes, hypoglycemia, the lower back, the endocrine system, kidney issues. I have Libra on the cusp of my 6th house, actually, in my natal chart. And I've talked about this before in previous videos. I actually had kidney stone pulverized. It was in 2006. And I have had very strong lower back issues. And I also have Jupiter in Libra, making it inconjunct to my ascendant from the 6th house. When you have inconjuncts in astrology, I would say, especially coming from the 6th house, inconjunct to the ascendant from the 6th house, this could often manifest in health-related issues. Now, another thing too, I want to talk about, going back. I want to be kind and rewind. I wanted to go back to the bowling aspect in her. She has, going back to Leo, being on the cusp of Leo could be associated with bullying, being on the 11th house cusp. That ruler, the sun, is conjunct her Neptune. And Neptune could be about isolation. Pisces is about isolation anyway. So it tells me that if she ever has to endure something like this later in life, that she could be more prone to passive, handling maybe somewhat passively, and toward isolation, toward, maybe, becoming reclusive. So it's something just to look at, just to be, to be safe and careful of. And another thing I noticed too, which could be tied into this situation, and also getting some, public recognition for this as well, is that she has an interesting conjunction in her sixth house. You might say compelling. It's very interesting. And the sixth house is the house of daily routine. It starts out with Mercury in Pisces at a critical degree, 29 degrees. It's retrograde. Then it conjuncts Chiron in Aries. And Chiron is at 0 degrees, followed by the moon. So when you break down, I've said this before in previous videos, but I'll say it again. When you break down a conjunction, a series of stellium, so stellium, a series of conjunctions, you start out with it. Basically, it makes an astrological statement. You start out with the first planet, and it ends with the last. Starting with Mercury, this could be about the news, something with the news, the media, communication. Being in Pisces, sometimes it can be a little bit ambiguous or a little deceptive. Maybe sometimes there can be statements that might be misconstrued as negative or something, or ones that could be even deceptive. This is tied into some of the, the mocking, ridiculing statements that are completely not true. Sadly, the baby was called a monster by somebody, ironically enough, I believe it's at some religious congregation or some church, which is really completely blasphemous. If you are indeed somebody that's religious, you would understand that. Now, again, starting with Mercury, with the Mercury and Pisces being maybe sometimes ambiguous communication, sometimes even fallacious or deceptive, then followed by Chiron in Aries at 0 degrees, which is a critical degree, making it more pronounced. This could be, Chiron in Aries can be about wounds and suffering connected with the face, because Aries is associated with the face. And then followed by the moon. Now, this could be also, it's not necessarily all bad. The moon is associated with the public, and the Aries is associated again with the face. So this is about communication, the news, which is about something that you can consider a physical wound. There's some suffering in connection with this, perhaps, given that we're talking about Chiron energy, but then followed by the moon being the public. This is an indicator why she has gotten, I believe, some notoriety because of this, and it's in the sixth house of the daily routine. Interestingly enough, she has been called Luna, her first name Luna, and it's interesting because Mercury is communication, and the moon is connected, is associated with things that are lunar, and she was named Luna, and she has Mercury conjunct her moon in her natal chart. So I found that to be a very interesting item right there. And also the moon is the ruler of her 10th house as well, of notoriety and recognition. And having another thing I wanted to say is that her having the south node in Capricorn, the 4th house, the north node in Cancer in the 10th, it tells me that in her future, being the north node in Cancer in the 10th, it's going to be about, a lot of it's going to be about caring and nurturing her career and attaining success, doing the things, showing dedication, devotion, care toward doing that, and maybe matters with safety and security in terms of, matters with notoriety. I mean, if she does later on in life become actually famous at a later point in time, she's likely going to be pursuing some kind, and might be in a situation where she might require more protection. Others, Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer is protective, the South Node in Capricorn in the fourth house, that could be about what we're going away from. And going away, maybe she might be inundated with responsibilities at home and things of an introverted nature. That is where I mean, Capricorn energy, very orthodox as well in showing that energy, just doing things that are basically responsibilities, things that are orthodox, conventional on the home front, things of that nature. And those are things that she might be getting away from. There's really not much more really had to, know if I can add to what I'm going to talk about as far as her chart goes. Now, another thing I noticed is that she has a singleton in her chart. A singleton in astrology is when you have only one planet. It's a planet that is, it could be like one only of an element or a quality. In this case, it's the only planet she has in a in an air sign. She has Venus in Aquarius. And it's the only planet, like I stated before, singleton in astrology is a planet where it's only one of either a quality or an element. And in this case, she has Venus in Aquarius in the fourth house. It's also her chart ruler, so this energy is very prominent and pronounced. Venus in Aquarius tells me that she in the fourth house tells me that there's going to be very strong emphasis at some point when she's older on doing things. Venus can be about what we enjoy and what we value, and Aquarius could be things that are innovative, something with computers, social media, electronics, astronomy, even astrology, doing that out of her home and enjoying her, and doing this in an introverted way, again out of her home, maybe enjoying it with her family, and it tells me that the latter part of her life can actually be very tranquil and peaceful. When I have Venus in the fourth house myself, and the latter part of life is really, you could say, I guess, approximately age 50 to the time you pass away, that latter third of one's life. So, and it also can be showing maybe who she loves at the core, is loving those maybe some Aquarian qualities at the core. Don't get me wrong, she has Capricorn on the fourth house, because that really is who you are at the core, in being very, I mean, Capricorn on the cusp of the fourth house, being very, as far as who she is at the core, being likely very disciplined, serious, responsible, structured, a person that could be very ambitious, career oriented, somebody that's very orthodox and conventional, is good premeditative ability. But I still believe if you have Venus in the next sign over and it's in that fourth house, it could also be valuing some Aquarian, in this case Aquarius qualities at the core, which could be, something maybe being somewhat eccentric or unusual, ingenious, unorthodox. And keep in mind too that the progressed fourth house, I mean, by progression, her fourth house is going to progress into Aquarius anyway at some point in time, and it may be, I don't know the exact age, but it might be when she's around 14 or 15 or something. But anyway, there's really not much. That's it. That's going to be it, people. That'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.